everybody. My name's Craig.
I'm Brian.
I'm Burke.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is Get Dunked On, the podcast. Whoa, actually, John Williams going on point for this one.
I thought about it going Red Solo Cup because I saw Burke had one in his hand earlier, and I was like, no, I knew you and Michelle would kill me, so I was like, no, I better not.
That's very true. It's very true. I think three of us would actually have very hostile feelings towards you at that point.
Wait, three of us? Would Burke be in that party?
I don't know what this Red Solo Cup song
then
is.
There you go.
Are you not knowing? Or do you not know? Or are you avoiding it because you do know what it is?
Burke,
I don't know.
Don't listen to it. Do not listen to it. It's bad.
It's a country song.
Yeah.
Oh, then
it's a really bad country song.
Hold on. Let's not knock all country. Like, let's not go down that road. Country's
bad.
fine. No, country's
not.
okay.
No.
Country
The Texan says it's bad. It's bad. Okay, we'll move on.
End of discussion.
3-1. You're outvoted. The Senate.
Put the foot down.
I am the Senate.
So as you guys know, last night I was at work and they were offering overnight overtime, and I was like, well, I can't sleep anyway, so I might as well just stay and make some money. Like,
sure,
you know, why wouldn't I? Because it's time and a half, and all I had to do literally was find stuff off the sales floor to ship into online orders. So I was just finding stuff, putting it in boxes, and shipping it. Easiest thing ever, you know. So it was great. So I was working with one of my slightly newer team members who was also like just learning how to do this. And all night, like, because we were listening to music while we were doing it, and it was my boss who was playing the music, and she's a couple years younger than I am. And he just turned 19. And so like she was like, oh yeah, like I was a freshman in high school when this song came out, and I was like, yeah, I was graduated from high school when this song came out. You know, he was like, I think I turned 7, and I was just
oh my god,
like all night I was just like, oh my god, this baby, like this precious child, you know. But no, he's a great worker. So, and he just likes to ask a lot of questions to like make conversation and stuff. So he was asking me like, and I'm assuming this is probably because he just recently graduated. He was like, you know, did you keep any of your friends from high school? And I was like, yeah, like, you know, I kept a few of them. I was like, not nearly as many as I would have considered that I had at the time. You know, but I was like, I kept a few. And I said, I have a couple that I talk to pretty consistently. We do a podcast together and stuff. I said, I've known one of them since first grade. And he was like, what? Like, I was like, oh, you precious child.
You can know
back in the decade called the 90s.
Because
he lived on Hamburger Lane.
He's like sitting there trying to say like I was technically a 90s kid, and I was like, when were you born? He was born in like November of 98, and I was like, honey,
oh my God.
you are not a 90s kid. Like,
no. You have to grow up in that time. You can't be like your brain doesn't switch on until age 5 anyway. Whatever.
So
anyway.
So is that the rule that we're going to institute? To be a kid of a decade, you have to be at least what's the minimum age?
Years of it.
What's the minimum age that you can be coming out of a decade to be considered a kid?
I don't even know if it would be a minimum age. I would say that you have to have like specific memories of that decade.
Okay.
See, I think you have to live through the decade. Meaning, like, let's just say that you were born in in 89, for example. You're not an 80s kid, you're a 90s kid because you literally your first decade was the 90s, right? So same thing as us. Like I was born in 87, so for me it'd be the 90s. Like I would be considered a 90s kid because that's when I grew up, you know?
Yeah, I would say kind of use what you said, Brian, that your brain doesn't turn on and you start remember stuff. You what 4 or 5? So I would say the cutoff like 86. Where I was born, that's probably.
Sure.
I'm a 90s kid, but I would not consider myself an 80s. But a couple years before that, like my wife, she remembers a lot more of the 80s than I do.
That was going to be my question is, okay, so just where would that cut be then at that one? Would it be like, oh, basically you have to be born before the 5-year mark? Or is it just always has to be so much individually on the person?
No, I think that there should be a time limit and there as well, because like technically there is bleed over between decades. You know what I mean? Like just because it was 1990 doesn't mean you don't remember things from 89. You know what I mean? A lot of the same like stuff that was popular would carry over.
How about this? You take a 10-year span
Okay.
This is my proposition. 10-year span, the year 5 to your year 15.
Okay.
And whatever decade has the most of that, that's your decade.
That's what I was going for.
Actually,
Thank you.
that's a great way to go about it. So that way,
I mean,
we would all be considered 90s kids.
Yep. There's
basically.
There's going to be the random rare chance where the person was born, like January 1st, 85 or whatever the exact halfway point is, and they can choose because they're the special cases. Past that, that's what we're going with. That sound good?
But no, that's perfect. Absolutely. But like now I'm freaking out a little bit because now I just realized my little cousins who I'm going to be seeing this weekend. The oldest one is like maybe 13.
They're not little anymore, right?
The oldest one is like maybe 13 years old, right? And so that means he had to have been born in oh my god, what would you call that? A 2000s kid, or like, what would you call that?
I would say probably an aughts kid.
That makes it sound even older. That makes it sound like we're like 1906. You know what I mean? Like it's an aughts kid.
Oh, I don't know, 2000s kid. That's about the only thing you can say.
Call them the double zeros or the zeros kid?
Not catchy. Not catchy.
No?
Not catchy.
Yeah, not at all.
All right, so let's go back to this kid that's not a 90s kid.
No, it's fine. No. So he was just like cracking me up. And then I forget what, because, by this point it's probably like 5:30 in the morning and we were kind of winding down for the night. And we got on the topic of the Ninja Turtles. And like he had no idea like that I was a fan of Ninja Turtles somehow. I don't know how he doesn't know because everyone else at work does, but he had no idea. So he was like talking about, I know what it was. We were talking about rappers, and then my boss was talking about Vanilla Ice, and then he was like, Vanilla Ice was in that Ninja Turtles movie, and I was like, yeah, the second one. He's like, wait, that was the second one? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh man, I thought that was like the original. And I was like, no, like not even close. And I was like, plus, and he's like, well, what about that old cartoon where they had the letters on the belt? And I was like, old cartoon?
Wow.
You mean like the cartoon that I grew up with? And he was like, yeah, the TV show. And I was like, that was the first of like 4 TV shows.
Oh my god, absolutely.
And I was just like, oh my god, I've never felt so old in my life. Like, even though he's not really like that little of a kid, like this 19-year-old kid was like making me feel so much older than like my 7-year-old nephew does.
Yeah.
But then we also got on the topic of YouTube creation. He was saying that he wanted to make YouTube videos, and that's when I was like, yeah, like
good fucking luck.
We do this podcast. And I said, that's exactly what I said. And I was talking to him about how like you and I have always just missed like certain things, and I was like, you just got to get lucky. And he was like, yeah. And then I was telling him about the podcast. He's like, you do a podcast? I was like, yeah. I was like, advertising us out.
Might get that one extra listener.
He listens to it. What a bunch of old farts. I can't listen. I can't listen to these grandpas.
My dad had a little thing. I mean, it's somewhat similar. Obviously, he knows he's old. But over Thanksgiving, I was out with my family in Oklahoma, and just my my nephew, his grandson, my father's grandson, he's 5 years old, and he looks to my dad and he goes, what video games did you play as a kid? And he's like, well, Beckett, I didn't play video games. He goes, you didn't play video games? He goes, no, we didn't have video games. You see his eyes get even wider. He goes, you didn't have video games? I was looking, Dad's just kind of laughing, but I was just like, gosh, this is hilarious to me.
Oh man, that's with my little cousins. They're like I said, the oldest one's 13 and the youngest one is like 7. So like I get that a lot where like, because I know things like Overwatch, like I introduced him to Overwatch, so like I'm hip and young when it comes to that stuff. But then they start talking about things that their friends are into at school, and I'm just have to nod my head. I'm like, totally, and I'm just this facade of like, I get it. Hey, hello, fellow kids. Like I don't get. Oh, it's awful. So I feel your pain.
So did this guy think Star Wars movies were like ancient or something? Like from
probably would
Egyptian
have.
times?
Probably would have.
He was like, the original trilogy was pretty good, but this new trilogy they're doing is going to be real good. You're like, yeah, I love the original with Luke and Leia. And he goes, the who?
You mean
Obi-Wan and Anakin? Like that original trilogy? You're like, no.
Give him the Jar Jar test. because if they were kids, would say when Jar Jar came out, say then they would like Jar Jar because Jar Jar was silly and fun, and he was a great addition.
So you're going with the Ewok theory on that one?
It's the Ewok theory. You bet. I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. But I mean, I guess we can just jump right into it. Then we are talking about Star Wars. That's my. I didn't have my recorder, so I couldn't play that for you guys. 5th grade, we had to learn how to play that. I still remember.
Actually, that's one of the only songs I remember how to play on recorders. The Star Wars.
I can do that. Hot Cross Buns and the Jaws theme, which is the Jaws theme is literally just me going.
Yeah, Jaws easy.
But no, it's Star Wars. With the new movie coming out and everything else, which none of us. This is not coming out obviously before that, but it is coming out before that.
It's coming out rightly before.
Yeah, right before it. There, we haven't seen the new one, so we're just going to be talking about our experiences with Star Wars, whether it be as children, adults, etc., and then also going into a little bit more detail as to where we think the franchise is going and what if we like the direction or what have you. So let's do this. Let's start with in the spirit of the opening topic. Do you want to start with the oldest person here, or how do you want to do this? Michelle, are you the oldest person here?
I am not the oldest person
first
here,
anyway.
but I'd like to go first because I probably have the shortest stories.
Oh, okay.
Because guess who didn't watch Star Wars until about 3 years ago?
Someone who's not on this podcast anymore.
I actually still haven't watched 1 through 3, but I've read their plots. But I figured it didn't matter because everyone's like, yeah, those aren't that great anyway. So I've read their basic plots, but I did watch, the original trilogy, and then I've seen The Force Awakens. I still have to watch Rogue One, which I'm probably going to do this weekend, and then I'll go see The Last Jedi. So I knew about it, but I didn't grow up with it the way other people did.
Okay.
I could probably go next on this one because or Burke, would it be more apropos that you go next since you're the one that had me watch Star Wars for the first time?
Sure, why not? I'll talk to. So I grew up watching Star Wars not too much. Actually, I think the only version we had in my house was part of A New Hope, the very beginning of A New Hope, that was recorded on the very end of Empire Strikes Back. So my exposure to it, and literally it was recorded on a VCR when it was on TV.
Oh, nice.
So that is how I got my first Star Wars experience. And I just remember watching it with my dad and not understanding it probably until high school, when I think I bought this series on DVD as a disc set and watched it the whole way through. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Even though, that was before they remastered everything the first time or whatever.
Sure.
And I was like, this is awesome. And I think it was in high school when I realized, spoiler alert, who Luke's dad was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, it was just so awesome. And then, and by that time the I guess 1, 2, and 3 started coming out. And I remember I went with all my buddies and we dressed up, we did all this fun stuff, and it was fun, but I don't have those many childhood memories, but I do remember watching it with my dad, and then of course being somewhat disappointed, but still in a childlike state, enjoying the original series. But now that I'm I can't watch them now. I can if I skip number 1, but for me it's more of I would even say going to 1, 2, and 3 with my friends. That's what I really remember about Star Wars. Even though I watched the first 3 with my dad, and then even when we went to watch Force Awakens, we went to I think the midnight showing, and I went with my dad because my wife ended up getting sick and couldn't go, so I went with my dad, and I was I remember just bawling in the middle of the movie thinking, oh my God, I remember watching this with my dad, even though I had no recollection of it before that point. I was, oh my God, I remember this. This is awesome. And just hearing the music, and I was like, oh, I'm such a baby. But I love Star Wars. All the games, except for Battlefront 2, I've bought and played.
Oh yeah,
immense hours in. So
yeah, Wow. And Craig, he got you into it?
Yeah,
And
he
I
was.
showed
Yeah,
Craig them,
he was the one that I actually saw Star Wars with first. So it was in college, so I know immediately that's probably getting me out of the podcast too. Obviously, as I've stated beforehand, my family was not much of a TV and or movie household growing up. There was low creativity was in the house,
Zero fun,
basically. And so I got everything I got from video games, and that was because I figured out how to do the research for video games on my own, right? Like online and stuff like that. So I had heard so many people talk about Star Wars and whatnot, but like really none of the group I hung out with in high school or middle school, even for that matter, wasn't like, oh my God, Star Wars. Like, yeah, they're like, yeah, look, I liked it or whatever. Maybe it was about as best as you would get, but nobody ever it never came up. So I never watched it, never felt any peer pressure to. Obviously never saw it with my family because my family has still never seen it. My sister didn't see it until her son wanted to watch it. Like they all went through the movies together, not her husband. Her husband had watched them all beforehand, but like she had never watched the movies until Beckett was like, hey, let's watch the movies because my brother-in-law was trying to get his son into the movies. So they watched them and they all watched them as a family. So my first introduction to the series was Burke. We were living together and he goes, okay, it's going to be a Star Wars weekend for us. And Burke gave me the option. He goes, how do you want to watch these? And so I ended up talking to my cousin at one point and he goes, you know what? You've got an interesting thing that you could possibly do. You could watch them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And
I had the same thing. It was like, do you want to watch it like chronologically or do you want to watch it how it was released?
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to be one of the few people that had the chance to watch Star Wars. I guess not few, but like at the time, probably not a lot of people went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was a lot of 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. I really wish I would have known about the machete or whatever it was order. What was it? 4, 5, 2, 2, 3, 6. 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. Yep. Wish I would have done that. Which this what I did with my wife, who had never watched Star Wars until we had moved down here. We did that. Or no, it was in Grand Blanc when we lived together, Brian. That's when we watched it. That's what we did with her. Anyway, but so I went through and did it that way. And that was my first introduction. Granted, Burke, not too many months later, tried to get me to do the same thing with Lord of the Rings with the special or the long versions. Didn't work. But that was my first introduction. And I remember watching it and being like impressed and whatnot, but I like remember distinctly that everybody was so pissed because people kept dropping by our dorm room, Burke, and kept going like, oh, you're watching like one of the dumb updated versions. Oh, this is so stupid, so stupid. I remember like the first time watching through Star Wars was a largely negative reaction from everybody because everybody was like, oh, you're watching the fucking updated ones with all this. That's just so stupid. And so I have a very negative reaction to watching. Like, remember watching the first 6 movies, very negative, like across all 6, because all the ones were updated. And then the first 3, everybody fucking hated. Like, and so I have this like deep connection with negativity of watching those older movies. So I don't know. Did we go into the newer ones or is it just talking about how ours started? I rambled.
Just go into it.
No, you're fine. We're just talking about like your initial introduction, but it's all good.
That was my introduction. Was the first 6 movies right in a row. Okay.
See, my background is more similar to Burke's in the sense that I had seen the originals, 4, 5, and 6 there when I was a kid, and we had them on VHS. Now we had the non-special edition, and then when the special edition came out, we bought that. And I can honestly tell you that I liked the special edition better than the original, and I know that's blasphemy among a lot of like Star Wars fans. They're like, "How dare you?" But look at it through the eyes of me being a young kid. You're telling me that I can have a better graphics, more. At the time it was good CG, you know what I mean? So it was like, CG, more aliens, more stuff like this. It just, every scene was clear, looked better. I'm like, of course I'm going to watch the better version. Why would I not? Kind of thing. But anyway, regardless of that, I watched those, and specifically though, I would watch episode, like I said, it'd be technically 6, but whatever. I knew it as episode 3 at the time, but
yes,
Return of the Jedi. That movie I watched on repeat. I didn't like first two. I watched them and I was like, okay, cool. And I just put them off on a shelf off to the side. Never watched them again. I would only, when I thought of Star Wars, I only watched episode 6 and I would watch it on repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. Because I thought it was the coolest thing ever as Luke as a confident Jedi. He was a badass throughout the whole film. He starts off with him, on the barge, and he's like doing flips and shit. And as a kid, like through those eyes, like Luke was a hero, man. Like Luke was like he was a fully put together Jedi. And I was like, well, why? I don't want to watch the first one. He's a whiny kid. Why would I want to watch the whiny kid? I want to watch the cool Jedi. So I mean, but as you get older, you appreciate. But anyway, the point is that then, of course, all the prequels came out. And I remember going to a theater by my grandmother's house. My brother and I got dropped off, and we went in and we watched the first one, The Phantom Menace. And we left that one, and it was exciting stuff. And basically, as it went on, it just kind of was just a fun and exciting thing, seeing these new films. But even walking out of that theater in 1999 or whatever it was, I knew that Phantom Menace was a problem.
See, I didn't just because I was stupid, and I that was me. Like I still have the ability to watch a movie that people like Suicide Squad. Like people hate it, right? For the most part, I watched that movie and I was like, I enjoyed it because I have a very simple mind when I go into these movies. I don't look for everything. But as I said, now going back watching Phantom Menace, I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad.
Sure. No, wait, hold on. Specifically, Phantom Menace. Now, for me, as I said, I can watch them all still, but if you could choose one thing from Phantom Menace that you say is the problem, what is it?
Dude, all the fucking politics.
Okay, so wait, no. This is interesting. Okay, Michelle, how about you? What about you with Phantom Menace?
I haven't watched it.
What?
She hasn't watched it. Remember, she just read the scripts. 1, 2, and 3.
That's right. Okay, what about you, Craig?
I don't know. Are you asking me now, or are you asking me like when I first watched it?
As an adult.
To me, it just seems too disconnected from the rest of the other two films. Like, it's him so much younger, and there's so much that's missed in between there. Okay. That's one of my biggest takeaways. I don't really like the politics thing. Actually, kind of interests me a little bit. Like that, it was a political, like this whole political coup. I like the idea of that as a story, but just the fact that it's like he's 4 years old, he's now like 30. I know that's not the actual time jump, but that's what it felt like.
It's not even close.
It feels jarring to me.
It did feel like that. I went into episode 2 wondering what the fuck.
I'm more disappointed with the gap in years, and that's the story that was told initially, and not like we kind of like, even if it's literally the start of 2, they're like, here's him as an angsty teenager, or I guess he's angsty teenager, but you know what I mean, like a couple of the steps in between, instead of it being like immediately, like give me one scene where you can tell he has acne, you're like, oh, there's the tweener stage, and then like
the thing that bothered me is there was Padme, who was, in the first one, was the princess, and then with a 4-year-old boy, right? And then you have the very next 9, movie. She was 14, but okay. It's Padme. But that's what it looked like. That's how it felt. Like. And then you went Padme and Anakin in episode 2, and he's like old.
It felt too jarring to me, and so it feels like that first film is completely disconnected to the rest of it.
You guys have a totally different reason as to why you disliked it than I did. None of that bothered me at all. The only thing that bothered me was the child actor. The child actor who played Anakin was literally worse than Jar Jar Binks times a billion. Like dead serious. I don't like Christian Haydenson either.
Oh yeah.
Nothing. Nothing takes me out of a film more than it's like if somebody takes the Mona Lisa and then in the background they had like a 5-year-old like paint a palm tree and in the background, and it's like this fit, right? It's totally, you don't notice the palm tree in the background. Like, no, there's a fucking 5-year-old screwing this whole painting up. Same thing in the movie. He's yippee! Are you an angel? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like the minute that he opened his mouth and he started saying these stupid lines, he ruined that entire movie for me. But sorry, I'm gonna stop now because I could literally spend an entire podcast about how angry that kid made me. But okay,
See,
Go ahead.
and this is funny because my one little thing for Phantom Menace is a counter to Brian's. As a 9-year-old girl, I thought the 9-year-old boy was pretty cute, so I had a Phantom Menace poster for that reason specifically, and that was my whole exposure to that movie.
But did you hear him talk? Like, was it he looked cute, or was it?
No, I literally saw the poster and I was like, oh, he's adorable, and I got the poster and that was it.
Okay, I mean, I can respect it for like an aesthetic purposes, but like if you heard him speak, like believe me, Michelle, like you as a person who likes good dialogue and interaction between characters, it literally is worse than nails on a chalkboard or a knife on a plate. You know, it's awful.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, you know what? I read the plots on Wikipedia and like I'm satisfied. Like I might still watch them eventually, but
Not
like
that bad.
I'm not. There's no way that I'm gonna make it a priority.
That's
ever.
the one good thing, though, for me about the way I did it. I started with Phantom Menace, and it only got better.
Oh, sure.
So, like,
Yeah.
I honestly, I saw it once.
True.
I saw it once with Burke. That was the only time I've ever watched Phantom Menace. I have never watched Phantom Menace past that. So, like, I honestly don't even remember his acting. At the time, I was not
I've seen
paying
it like
attention
20
to any of
times.
that stuff. But, like, I've never seen the movie past that. So, I don't remember really hardly anything about Phantom Menace besides the basic plot, you know, throughout the whole thing. So, I'd have to actually go back and watch it. When I watched it with my wife, we did the machete order. We did the 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, and so we didn't even just skipped one.
Yeah. Just skip the rest of one. I enjoyed the pod racing.
No, pod racing was fun. No, it had good
That was it.
elements.
That was
It
it.
had good elements.
Yeah.
The Darth Maul fight, the pod racing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was a good movie. And then out of nowhere, it's like, all right, movie's chugging along. We're doing great. Gee whiz! I'm like, fucking shut that kid up.
So
like,
basically do this. You do 4, 5 pod racing scene, 2,
Yes,
2,
yes.
3, then go back to 6.
Pod racing and
Darth Maul
scene.
fight
That's all
was
you need.
tight.
The- Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. But like, so you know, we've talked about movies so far,
Mhm.
but what really got me into Star Wars was the video games.
Hell yeah.
So, like, obviously, the 64. I didn't have a 64, but oh my god, pod racing on the Nintendo 64
I have that.
Yeah.
was
Pod racing
fucking
was
legit.
amazing. Yeah.
Like that game, and then of course, remember I was a PC gamer, so I played like Star Wars. Was it not? Galactic Wars.
No, Battlefront. There was Star Wars Battlefront.
Well, I played Battlefront, but I'm talking the RTS games.
Oh.
The Galactic War. Hold on, I'm pulling up my Steam library, which is a lot of Star Wars games, so I could figure it out. But I every once in a while I'll start those up and still play a campaign of the RTS series, just because it's so much fun.
yeah, I played
Galactic Battleground Saga. Yeah,
I played Pod Racer and then I played Lego Star Wars, which was like the first Lego game I played, and like that's legit too. Like that was a super fun game.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I loved the Lego Star Wars, the original, I guess 4, 5, and 6. I played the shit
Side
out
note,
of that.
it's really hard to go back to those ones when you've played the newer
It
Lego
really
ones. You
Yeah, it
play
is.
the newer ones, you're like, oh, the 2 players can separate and walk other places. Sarah and I tried. I went through and bought, because it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One. Went through and back and bought it, and we tried to play it, and we just kept getting like, one person would get stuck, and it gets so frustrating. We're like, nope, fuck it, don't care anymore.
Aw. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I had a. This is talking about games. There, I had an NES game for
Which one?
Oh God, it was the episode 5. I'm trying to remember. Like, I think it was just called I think it was just called Empire Strikes Back or something like that. But
Mhm.
literally, I couldn't beat the first level. Like it was so hard. It was literally the hardest game in history. But I finally I would beat the first level, and then then I would lose immediately following it because I didn't have enough health, whatever. But I like that one. Do you ever play Jedi Outcast or?
Oh my god, I loved
that one was great. What
Outcast.
about what the heck? Clone War. There was a Clone Wars game that was pretty solid where you did tanks.
Oh yeah, the Clone Wars, which came with the Xbox, the original Xbox.
Yep.
After a while,
Yep.
But yeah, I played the shit
Me
out
too.
of that one. Like,
What about
like that is what that right there is what got me into Star Wars. It wasn't the movies, it was the games. But like,
Sure.
what really sold me on it was, yes, I played Galactic Battlegrounds, and I played RTSs with my buddies all the time, and so that's what we played. And then when Knights of the Old
I
Republic
knew you were
came
going to
out,
say that.
oh my god, that game. and the story, and then the turn-based kind of action fighting. Like that was one of the first types of games I've ever played like that because it was Star Wars, and then the twist in that game, it fucking blew my mind. The story writing in that game was just fucking brilliant. And I was so it's hard, like I've played games longer and harder, but like even with like the Master Chief and playing through Combat Evolved and when the Flood, and I'm freaked out, the twist in Knights of the Old Republic, just it blew my mind.
So
oh my god,
I'm assuming you're one of the people who's pretty pumped that the rumor that the new trilogy is going to be based off of that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I heard they've confirmed that they're making another trilogy, and I heard a rumor that it's going to be based off Knights of the Old Republic.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, just sitting here talking about it, I just looked at my Steam library. I have, I think, 15 Star Wars games, and like I really want to go back and play Knights of the Old Republic now, just because it was an amazing role-playing game. Like it was one of the first role-playing games that I really got into and played A to Z and everything in between.
Did you play Force Unleashed?
Oh yeah.
So I fully 100% completed Force Unleashed.
Yep.
And the first one, not the second one. I haven't done that one yet. But the first one, I 100% did it, which I don't normally do that unless I truly love the game. But like hunting down all the different like lightsaber crystals and the whatever's, like, you know what I mean? Like it just felt so cool. And
yes,
that was the thing that like when they initially were talking about like I'm not gonna call it's not rebooting it, continuing the franchise with the Force Awakens. When they made that announcement that they're like, okay, all that other stuff is kind of like wiped away and non-canon anymore, I'm like, no, I want that one thing to be canon. Like I wanted that story from the Force Unleashed to be canon more than anything else, because like it filled in so many gaps that bugged me. Like after seeing the third movie, like the Jedi Masters that like you don't see die, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you like in that, and I'm just gonna spoil part of that game for everybody. I don't, because it doesn't matter. It's an old game. You literally go around hunting down the other, like the remaining Jedi. Yeah. So like you basically are like your whole thing is that you're going around wiping out the remainder of Jedi, and that just makes it so much cooler, because now you're like, oh well, this answers the question of like, where did they go? What if there was a new Jedi born? What if blah 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 blah? And it like wraps so many beautiful things up with a bow, and like the character arc for Starkiller was so good that I was like, oh, like, yeah. So I'm with you, Burke. There's so many good Star Wars games out there, and I was,
the Death Star scene with him and the Force.
Yes, and he's like, he's diving down in, and you know that.
Oh my god, yeah. Like it was a beautiful game. You know, of course, you know it's not really, you know, canon anymore or whatever. But it was always off in its own little kind of universe, Earth 2 universe kind of.
Did you wear during that final thing? Did you wear like the white hood and all that stuff?
Dude, I don't remember.
I did. I purposely wore like basically like where he came the full circle with the white hood, came in with the lights, like wah! Like I was like, dude. I was so into it. They've had some amazing Star Wars games. Agreed.
Like
some bad ones too, but some good ones
in the past. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, the only Star Wars game I ever played was not the first Battlefront, but the Battlefront from a couple years ago that came out, like the newest generation Xbox One, PS4, whatever generation you want to call it. I think that's literally the only Star Wars game I ever played, unless if you and I did one on like 11th Moon 2 or something, Brian. But past that,
I don't know if we did, honestly.
I don't know if we did, but past that, that's the only one I've ever done. Was that game, and that was kind of fun. I enjoyed it, but I only enjoyed it because I was playing with you guys. Truthfully, I was like, eh.
Did you ever watch did anyone here ever watch the TV shows like the Clone Wars or anything like that? I know.
Yes.
I did.
I loved the Clone Wars, because you know, like that was an amazing cartoon series, especially towards the end when it got, you know, because it started out as a very kid friendly show, and then it just got darker and darker, because you know it's the Clone Wars.
It's
you know,
a war.
you see
It's not supposed to be like we're all gonna make it. It's like no.
You have Ahsoka. You see her journey from being a little Padawan to being almost a full-fledged Jedi, and then I don't want to spoil it, but the last episodes where you have well, I'll say this: Darth Maul. Was it the Darth Maul and Yoda fight? Oh my God! Like the how dark it turns and all of this stuff. It was just it was a great series.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And and then pulling in all of the bounty hunters. Oh crap, I can't think of their names right now. Where Boba Fett came from.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of what they're called.
Like that, you're talking about the name of the group?
Yeah, the planet and the.
Oh, you're talking about the Meridian, no, Mastodon, no,
Mastodon.
It's something with an M. Shoot, what the heck are they called? What is the name of that planet? God dang it! Look at this, we're failing already, and the quiz hasn't started. Dang it!
Yeah,
they're something with an M, whatever. But
but the whole political interaction, because she goes like, I enjoyed the politics. Mandalorians.
There it is. It came to me. My favorite sword I think ever was in when the dark kind of saber, the black crystal. Yes.
Thing. Oh my! Like the fact that they brought, because that was in the Force Awakens, or not the Force Awakens, Unleashed. The Force Unleashed, and then when they brought that in to that game as not a lightsaber, as a fucking like sword, one-sided sword. It was beautiful.
It was so cool.
Like just, oh yeah. Oh. So have you watched the new animated series?
You mean the Rogues or whatever?
The Rogue.
The Rogues one. I have not. I can honestly say that I have not gone down that road because I heard it had a weak start. I'm not saying that it did. I don't know. That's just what the rumor was.
I've watched like the first 5 episodes and I haven't gotten past that. So kind of a weak start.
Okay.
I'll give you that. Enough. Yeah. So I want to, the Star Wars kid in me wants to continue and pick it up and watch it. Yeah. And I probably will one day when I get an animated kick in me.
All right, real quick. Let's go around just rapid fire. What is your favorite of the movies? Out of the movies that you've seen, if you had to pick one, I already said mine, obviously. So.
Oh yeah, you said 6.
Yeah, I didn't say why, but that's you go ahead.
Mine would end up being 7 because it was the first one I actually saw in theaters.
Okay,
and I saw it in a big D theater, and the sound design was so awesome. Like because before everything else was watched on a dorm room TV, and then Sarah and I watched it on a decent TV once. But seeing the movie up on the screen, and then when like anybody was using the Force, the bass was so loud, like it rumbled you. So you're like, holy shit, it's real. Like, so that one for me was just because the experience was so good. I don't know if I consider it like the best story because I was like, wow, I've seen this movie before, but it still was like the most fun experience I had.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on the line with Craig, like that experience, but if I had to pick like what I think is the best movie, I'm with Brian here, Return of the Jedi.
By the way, real quick, for the record, the reason I liked it as an adult as my favorite one is because of just the final fight between Luke and Vader when the line where he goes perhaps your sister, and then he just no, and that music that choir and he's like they're wailing on each other, and then he takes Vader's hand off and he looks at his own hand, and there's that epic moment like it's so good. Sorry, okay, go ahead, Bert.
I may get a bunch of flack for this one.
Oh shit! If you say episode 1, you're not just out of this podcast. I can't talk to you ever again. I'm cutting all ties. I'm deleting your number. You're dead to me.
I was going to say Phantom Menace just to see how you reacted.
No, there's stuff we joke about in this world, but that is not one of them.
that crosses so many lines.
Absolutely.
All right. So no. Dude, it's hard because I love episode 6, but and I went and saw all the 1, 2, and 3 in the theaters and whatnot, and I have good memories with that with all my friends. But I have to say 7 just because it's not the most recent one, because obviously Rogue One came out and I went and saw that in the theaters as well. But like just it wasn't an original movie, but I came out of that going, oh my God, thank you. Like that was I was like, as I said, I was a crying mess during it multiple times. Like I watched it recently, like in the middle of the day upstairs in my home theater. And I was like, I was still fucking bawling, crying. Cause like, this is so good. Like
it's a return to form.
It really is. And I was like, I'm just like, thank you. Please let this next one be amazing as well, which I have no doubt in my mind that it will be. So, and mainly because I haven't watched anything about it, I'm like completely in the dark.
Me too.
And I couldn't be happier.
I was keeping myself in the dark, but Justice League played the trailer. So
I literally sat in a theater with I kid you not, in an actual theater as an adult person with my fingers in my ears going la 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 la, and the guy next to me was
Nice.
shut up. I'm like, fuck you, shut la 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 la. Like, I don't care. I'm not spoiling myself.
You see, the great thing is, like, those trailers went up. I honestly already forgot because it just doesn't register with me to remember. I mean, if it was Justice League or other movies, yeah, I'd watch them and I'd remember. But I like Star Wars, but it's not a huge part of my life. So I watch it and I go, oh, that looked kind of fun. I honestly don't remember what I saw now. By this point.
So you're saying you're going to dominate this quiz because you're a Star Wars obsessed fanboy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it any surprise to anybody else that Disney decided to forever make Star Wars movies till the end of time now?
Do we care?
No, absolutely not.
I said, was it a surprise? I didn't say anything about caring or loving.
You're saying that you have no respect for the franchise, is what you're saying.
I said, was it a surprise? When they're like, oh, we're going to do a new trilogy. And we have got like 9 others planned after that because we can put out one a year now if we want.
Nah.
Surprised, no, ecstatic. Like, as soon as Disney bought the rights, I was ecstatic because I knew George Lucas was never going to make the movies. Like, he said it, and I was like, fuck you, dude. But I was also happy because of 1, 2, and 3. But when Disney got it, I was like, yes, they're going to make movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, like, they have the budget to do it well.
They've been doing things with Marvel as far like they had all my confidence going into it, and they didn't disappoint so far.
So I know Michelle hasn't seen Rogue One, but Craig, what did you feel about that one?
It was fun. I enjoyed it, I guess. I don't really have anything else besides like the ending sequence was really cool. But everybody has that kind of same reaction to it.
Oh yeah, best part of that film.
Same with you. Oh, it totally. Like I actually enjoyed the whole episode. I know, Brian, you don't give a shit about the characters.
Yeah, so, I thought it was okay. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong. I didn't hate it by any stretch. I thought it was okay.
For me, I just loved. For me, it was the story in between the movies, and that is what I appreciated, was getting those gaps filled in, because you in episode 4 you hear about here's these plans and how the fuck did they get them? Well, here's how, and I loved those gaps. All right, so who's got the quiz tonight?
I did, because I know the most, so I made the quiz.
Get an expert.
All right, so order tonight is myself, Brian, and Craig.
Craig could go first. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Probably true. So, but
I'm going to get the same amount of points either way. So,
all right. So I think I have. Would I say 15? Yeah, 15 questions today. So we'll just get started. None of them are number questions, so I think we're good there. So the first one. Chewbacca's voice in the original film was made from a blend of animal noises. Which 4 animals were used?
Oh, snap.
Fuck. It's me.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm just having a negative reaction. I'm sorry.
Let's go with a sheep, a lion. I was going to say a cat, but that's kind of redundant. A dog growling, and a turtle.
A lion, some sort of like monkey, baboon, gorilla, local primate. What gurgles? I'm sitting there like, what gurgles as it goes? A bullfrog and I don't know, a Wookiee.
A Wookiee.
I'm gonna go with a horse, a dog, a goat, and a velociraptor.
Makes sense.
All right, so Brian and Burke are gonna get 1 point each for lion. So it was a bear, a lion, a badger, and a walrus were the 4 animals used
Say those
Badger.
to
again.
make Chewbacca's voice. Yep, bear, lion, badger, and walrus.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the walrus. I can see that. That makes sense.
I thought that's what they modeled Jabba the Hutt
Yeah.
after.
We're talking just the voice, not the model.
Sorry.
Yeah. So question 2. The original concept design for the Millennium Falcon was a long cylinder. The model makers said it looked too much like the spaceships from the TV series Space 1999, which was a British television show. George Lucas then gave them what instructions that would lead to the design we know and love today?
No.
Can you start that question over?
Yeah, so do you want me to
if
read
you
the whole
don't
thing or
mind.
just explain it?
Yeah.
Okay. The original concept design for the Millennium Falcon was a long cylinder. The model makers said it looked too much like the spaceship from the TV series Space 1999, which was a British TV show. George Lucas then gave them what instructions? So he said, okay, we'll make it, this, and that would lead to the design we know and love today.
Make it like a frisbee.
Make it flat.
Put more lasers on it.
Okay, so yeah, no one's going to get the point. I was going to give it if it was close. So this is what he apparently told them. Look like a flying hamburger and sail like a sunfish.
Huh. I see it.
That
I
old
see it.
chestnut.
I see
I
it.
mean, it totally
Yeah.
makes sense, but it's pretty ridiculous. So that's apparently what he told them, and that's how they got the new
That's
model.
awesome.
Okay.
George Lucas began the funding for Empire Strikes Back himself. When the budget got too high, though, the bank that was working with him pulled out of the deal, even though they knew they were funding the sequel to the highest grossing movie ever at the time. Lucas went to 20th Century Fox for help, but they were forcing him to give up creative rights for their help. He got so frustrated with them that he took a different project he was working on to rival company Paramount. What project was that?
Project Scorpio.
Blue Harvest. I don't know.
I'm gonna go with Willow.
All right, so Blue Harvest was actually a code name for one of the
Yeah, that's
movies.
why I was.
I forget which
that's-
one.
Yeah.
But it was the answer I was looking for was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh.
That's when he gave the big fuck you to 20th Century
Wow.
Fox and was like, "Hey Paramount, I got this new movie here. Y'all want it?" And they took
Wow.
it. Number 4. How many puppeteers did it take to be Jabba the Hutt?
I'm going to go with 11.
And I lied. I guess this is a number question I forgot.
4, I think.
I'm going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, Craig's going to be closest then. It took 7 people.
Aw.
So
Wow.
3 of them were inside. 1 controlled the right arm and jaw. Another handled the left hand and part of the jaw, the tongue, and the head movements. And they both worked with the body. A third was just the tail. There were 2 people on radio controllers for the eyes.
Jesus.
Someone was under the stage to blow cigar smoke through a tube, and then another was for just the lungs.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah, it took a lot of people to run Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, really.
And now we just CG. It
Yeah,
takes
right.
an army of people, technically, I guess.
What actor, one who would go on to play a Harry Potter character, got his break because he was initially an extra, but then was given an actual role because another actor got food poisoning? And most of these questions are about the original trilogy, so.
I have no fucking clue. I don't know actors' names.
Harrison Ford. I don't know who the hell is in Harry Potter, so this doesn't work for me.
Is it Warwick Supple? No, that's the pitcher. Warwick Davis. It's the guy that was in the R2D2 movement. He plays Flitwick.
Okay, Craig's right. It's Warwick
Yeah.
Davis. not inside of R2D2, but that's okay. You got the right actor. So he was initially just supposed to be an Ewok extra, but then the character Wicket, his actor got food poisoning, so they made Warwick Davis Wicket instead. And that's how he got his break, and then he would go on to make a ton of movies.
You missed out on that Wicket money.
Right. The teaser trailer for Phantom Menace was attached to what romance movie?
Deadpool.
I was going to give you a hint, so I'll let you take that guess back. Hint, it stars Brad Pitt.
Deadpool.
I don't even know.
Oh, God. That would be Shakespeare in Love.
Moneyball.
Okay, so the answer was Meet Joe Black.
Didn't even know that
and
was
the
a
thing that
romance
I
movie.
thought was hilarious about this is that, like, people were so pumped for the trailer that apparently, like, a bunch of people bought tickets to this movie, watched the Phantom Menace trailer, and then just literally went home because they had no interest in the actual movie.
Wow.
It's like people who bought Crackdown for the trial of for the beta of Halo 3. Remember that?
And I think that's the last time anybody was excited about Phantom Menace.
I was about to say, if only they had known, they should have stayed for that movie and not gone to Phantom Menace.
All right, number 7. What was Luke's original surname in the scripts?
Oh, fuck, I know this.
It got changed to Skywalker.
I know it. I'm gonna go last.
Oh, fuck. Oh my god.
I see this as my only chance to get ahead of Burke.
Fuck. I got it. Never mind. I know what it is. I got it.
Star Killer.
Star Killer.
Star Killer.
Yes, it was Star Killer. So you all get
You're
the
not
point
supposed to know that.
Which phrase is heard in every single Star Wars movie, along with many other LucasArts properties?
I got this one as well.
Use the Force.
Well, it's also heard in the first 3 Halo games, said by 3 different races as well. It is, I've got a bad feeling about this, or I've got a bad feeling
about this.
Yep, that is the.
Yep.
I have a bad feeling about this. Some variation of it is in all of them, plus a lot of other
Marines
things.
say it in Halo 1, the Grunt say it in Halo 2, and another set of Marines say it in Halo 3. Or no, the Elite say it in Halo 3.
All right, number 9. Darth Vader's chest piece has ancient Hebrew words on it. What is the English translation of those words?
Mouth breather.
Half a point.
All right. Give him, I'll say I gotta go half a point. I have no clue. No, I can't think. No, got nothing.
Dark Father.
All right. It's his deeds will not be forgiven until he merits. That's pretty appropriate for
Yeah, it is actually pretty appropriate.
the character. Yeah.
Say that again. His deeds.
His deeds will not be forgiven until he merits.
There you have it.
So I'm sure if people could actually read that, they probably were like, I wonder what's going to happen. I doubt anyone could read that, but number 10. How many languages can C-3PO speak?
Oh, I think I know this one. I think I know
I'm
this
not
one.
looking for like an exact number. It's like a general ballpark.
It's like 6 million.
I thought it was in
Something.
languages.
I thought it's either 3 or 5, but I think it's I'm fluent in over 5 million forms of communication. I think it's either 3 or 5, but yeah, I think it's 5.
Bert gets the point. It's over 6 million.
Shit!
Yes.
Is the, I mean, I guess you other two are not technically wrong, but over 6 million
Damn
is
it.
the correct
I
number.
said 1.
Number
He knows common. You know common. That's it.
Number 11. What species is Yoda?
Oh,
Frog.
Let's go with a Jedi Master.
Brian's face is
Yeah,
cracking up.
The answer is that he's Yoda. There is no listed species, so he's just known as Yoda species.
Yeah, he's gonna get the point. Yoda's not officially the name of his species,
Right.
but his species is actually never stated. It was a trick question.
Yep. I tried to look it up once. Is the only
So
reason I know
it
that.
could be frog.
It could be frog. You might not be wrong. What species name is known but is never said in the Star Wars movies other than credits?
In the original trilogy or any of them? Okay.
I think it's just the original. I'm not 100% certain.
I should not have gone first. I honestly don't know.
I know the answer, so I'm going to go last.
Human.
The answer, Ewok.
Yeah. The Ewoks. Nobody
they
ever
just call
says.
them the Andorians constantly. That's what they always said.
Yeah, they never say Ewok, but like they put that in the
Fuck,
credits.
I knew
as
that
the-
actually.
God, so did I. What? Oh, well.
Number 13. What does AT-AT stand for?
Oh, fuck. All-terrain armor transport.
I'm just going to copy what Burke said because that's way better than anything I could think of.
I didn't know there was a double letter button. God damn it.
Thanks, Mitch.
Burke is correct.
Sweet.
All-terrain armored transport is.
I'm glad
should-
I
what
missed
it
my wagon
stands
of that guy.
God damn it. I should have. I knew
You
what
should
it
only,
was.
you
I
should
should
only
have
get half
waited.
a point for being like
Yeah.
Burke's answer.
I had no idea. Like, I literally thought you just made that up. I was like, wow, that's way better. I was kind of
No.
like autonomous traversing. Like, I had nothing.
Nope. All-terrain armored
Do you have a
transport.
question about the ATSDs?
No.
Do you know what that one stands for?
No.
Scout transport, all-terrain.
Avalanche
Oh.
terrain.
Built Ford tough.
Number 14. Return of the Jedi was originally called Revenge of the Jedi. The name was changed super late in the game, causing promo merch to already be made with that original name. But what was the reason for the name change?
Because revenge is not the way of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar along the lines of like a Jedi wouldn't take revenge.
And I was gonna say Jedis don't take revenge, or at least they're not supposed to. and
Yeah,
I was
that's- Yeah, that's correct. George Lucas was kind of like, yeah, Jedis wouldn't really do this, so we can't use this name. But they had already made like a bunch of posters and stuff,
Oh,
so I'm
I'm
sure you
sure.
can buy them for thousands and thousands of dollars off eBay.
I was
but-
thinking they might even do
Wow.
it for PR reasons as well. Like, well, let's not have revenge. Let's do return because it's more of a lighthearted kids thing
Well,
too.
and they got to use it later. I mean,
Yeah.
Revenge of the
Yeah.
Sith. I mean, they finally got to use it, but
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the last question. A bet with what friend of George Lucas's cost him about $40 million?
I know this.
I was going to say, hint, this person is also famous, so.
It was Brad Pitt.
I'm gonna
I'm gonna
go with
go last.
Steven Spielberg.
That's Steven Spielberg.
It is Steven Spielberg. So I liked the story behind this, so I did take it. So apparently, like, George Lucas was visiting the set of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and according to Steven Spielberg, like, George Lucas started having like a panic attack basically, and he was like, oh my god, your movie is going to be so much more successful than Star Wars, you know, this is going to be the biggest hit all the time, I can't believe this set. And so he said, you know, I'll give you 2.5% of Star Wars if you give me 2.5% of Close Encounters. And like Steven Spielberg was like, sure, like I'll take that bet. And then Star Wars ended up making $775 million, and then Close Encounters made $304 million.
Wow.
Oh,
So
man.
George Lucas did actually pay him. Like, he legitimately gave him all of that money.
I'm sure he did, you know,
That's awesome.
which is, those guys are good
they were
buddies.
like, well, it doesn't really hurt when you have that much money, so.
Yeah, really.
You know, that's pocket
Kind of like
change
us,
at that
right?
point.
We just throw around that kind of cash at each other.
That's insane.
Yeah, I thought that story was pretty hilarious, that he was just like, oh my god, like, you know, because Close Encounters had a great budget, a great set, and Star Wars was just like, you know, they were trying to do whatever they could do to make it work. And
Awesome.
And yet everyone remembers Star Wars and has never heard of Close Encounters.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen the movie.
Star Wars.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, Star Wars. Never seen
Yeah.
it. Okay. So, in last place, with a grand total of 5 points, is me.
What?
Yeah. Apparently my Deadpool and Brad Pitt answers weren't the smartest. All right. And the second runner-up is, with 6.5 points,
It's like,
Craig.
I never got a half point. So
I feel like technically, Brooke, you're the second runner-up. I'm the first runner-up,
Oh, did I say second?
Yeah.
Whatever.
and that leaves Brian as the winner.
Ocho.
You are the Star War.
You laugh at that. I named this file War Stars.
War Stars. I almost said Star Horse.
Star Wars.
I'm impressed. I thought I was making a pretty hard quiz, and you guys did pretty good, so I'm impressed.
That was tough. That was
Hey,
good.
so I turned my targeting computer off. I used the Force, and I got through this one. Don't worry about it.
You did better than 50%. You got an 8. So yeah, 8 out of 15.
You didn't fail.
Put a blaster shield out. That's impossible.
Did you ever
Wars
watch
was-
any of the Star Wars spoofs, like Spaceballs and?
Oh hell yeah! Of course I did.
Did you ever see Thumb Wars?
No.
You need to watch it.
All right, I'm gonna watch
You need
that.
to watch it.
Thumb Wars.
It's basically they CG'd or cut eyes and mouths on people's thumbs and reenacted Star Wars.
Okay, I'll watch that. That's something I would totally watch.
I've seen Spaceballs, but I haven't seen Thumb Wars.
I had the DVD. It was amazing. So yeah.
You actually had a physical copy. Of
Oh
this?
yeah, I think I still
That's
have
awesome.
it somewhere. It's it's stupid humor, and now that I'm high as fuck, I might as well just put it on and start watching it.
Oh my! Like, see if it actually speaks to you a lot more
Yeah.
when some guy's thumb is like, Luke. I really thought for sure Michelle was going to have the question on there. It's like, what famous Star Wars quote does everyone always get wrong? And it's
I almost put that on there, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
because everybody knows this.
It's true, yeah. But everyone's you'd think, but a lot of people don't. Everyone does the Luke, I am your father. It's like he never said that.
No, I am your
It's
father.
no, I am. It's like no, I am your father. It's like, of course, But
I do want to note, though, Brian, when you said that his chess piece thing said Dark Father, whatever you said, one of the things that I was reading about when I was doing the research for this quiz is that I forget which 2 European countries, but basically, like, Vader and whatever other word
Germany.
was with Vader in there literally, like, meant Dark Father. So, like, they actually already
Knew ahead of time.
because of his name, yeah.
and I had heard that somewhere, which is where it wasn't a pure guess when I said that.
Right.
And I obviously I didn't know where it was from in my brain. It just is one of those things where I have like it's in the Star Wars warehouse part of his brain. It's like just shovel shit out. One of these is right. I don't know.
It was from Pitch Perfect, and she says it's from Germany.
Oh, I saw that movie once. It wasn't as good as Star Wars. I'm just saying, it wasn't. What?
So,
It wasn't.
I
yeah,
mean, talk about, like, comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah. get dunked on. Pitch Perfect.
Right.
I mean, like, what else can we do at this point? It's worse than Star Wars.
It's true. It's worse than Star. It's not as good. They got dunked on. Bam.
Fuck you, Anna Kendrick. Get dunked on. Fuck you, Anna Kendrick. Get dunked on.
Yeah, George Lucas is just dunking over Anna Kendrick. Go ahead and just my movies are credible.
We may have found the album art for this episode is George Lucas dunking on Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick, if you're listening, for the record, I love you.
No one's saying they don't love Anna
in
Kendrick.
the background, it has to be the Death Star. That's no
Oh,
moon.
sure.
No, that's the
He's
ball.
dunking the Death
That's the
Star.
ball.
Yes,
The
yes,
ball-
yes,
The ball
yes.
is the Death Star. The ball is the Death Star. And in my head, I had the NBA Jam background.
Oh my
Anna
God.
Kendrick is. Oh no. Oh god.
I'm quirky.
I'm so quirky. No one understands
on
me,
me.
even though I'm beautiful and relatable. It's like what?
Oh my God.